Hi, welcome to Wise Guys. This video is on exponents and complex practice questions. So here are some questions that you can try. Pause the video, work through the questions, and I will work through them right away, give you the solutions right away. First question. Here we have 15r squared s to the minus 3 t to the minus 1 all squared. So you can see what we have inside the brackets is negative exponents, and typically we deal with, or at least I like to get rid of my negatives right away, so that's the first thing I'm going to deal with. Keeping my bracket, I have 15r squared. S to the minus 3 goes into the denominator and becomes a positive 3. T to the minus 1 goes into the denominator and it has an exponent of positive 1, which I'm not going to write because it just basically looks like a t. And this is squared. Now everything's positive and everything is squared. So we have 15 squared, which is a pretty big number. I think it might be, I actually don't know what it is. 225, okay. 225, r squared is squared. So again, we multiply the exponents here, so this becomes r to the 4th. S cubed is squared, so that becomes s, that's 3 times 2, so that becomes s to the 6th. And t is squared, so we have t squared. And that's that answer. Next question. 8r squared s to the minus 4x divided by 3 r to the minus 2 y, all raised to the power of 0. Anything raised to the power of 0 equals 1. Doesn't matter how weird it looks, it is 1. And if you're not sure why, go back to the first video on exponents and see why. The answer here is 1. Next question. 2a to the 3, b to the minus 4, c to the minus 1. Now there's more than one way to deal with this. The way I'm going to handle this right now is deal with what's inside the bracket first. Actually, you know what? I've done that in a couple of instances. I think what I'm going to do is deal with this minus 2 on the outside first. And that is a different approach, okay? So again, anything that's raised to a negative exponent, all we have to do is, if it's in the denominator, we move it up to the numerator and change it to a positive. If it's in the numerator, we move it down to the denominator, and that then becomes a positive. This entire thing is in the numerator, and it's raised to the power of minus 2. So what I'm going to do is move the entire thing into the denominator. So we have 2a cubed, b to the minus 4, c to the minus 1, and that will change that exponent to a positive 2. And if you went through the previous videos, you'll see that I did a couple of different questions where I dealt with what was inside the brackets first before I dealt with the negative exponent on the outside. So this is a different approach. And they're both perfectly fine ways of handling it. So now again, I have this piece that's in the denominator, raised to the power of minus 2. And at that point, what I'm going to do is multiply everything through, because I can't move this b to the minus 4 up because it's inside this bracket. So I need to multiply everything through right now. Okay? So this becomes 1 over 2 squared, which is 4. A cubed raised to the power of 2, which is a to the 6th. B to the minus 4 raised to the power of 2, which is b to the minus 8. C to the minus 1 raised to the power of 2, which is C to the minus 2. Now we can see by looking at this that then at this point we can move b to the minus 8 up and it will become a positive exponent. So in our numerator we can have b to the power of 8. We can also take our c to the minus 2 up into the numerator and it will become a positive 2. And our 4a to the 6 will be left in the denominator. Okay. Now I want to show you just another way that you could have worked through this question. Again, remember that this minus 2 can be multiplied by everything, right? It will go into all of these. So we could say that we have 2 to the minus 2. We have a to the minus 6. Now I'm moving right from this point down into here, okay? So 2 to the minus 2, a to the minus 6. Here we have b to the minus 4 times minus 2, which gives us a positive 8. And here we have c to the minus 2 or minus 1 times minus 2, which gives us c to the 2. So then we think, okay, all right. So then my b to the 8 can stay in the numerator because it's a positive. My c to the 2 can stay in the numerator because it's a positive. My 2 to the minus 2, and I'm just going to leave it as a, I'm not going to multiply this through right now. I'm just going to move it into the denominator so I can say, oh, okay, that goes down there, and my negative 2 exponent becomes a positive. A to the minus 6 moves into the denominator, and the minus 6 becomes a positive. So then we have b to the 8, c squared over 4, a to the 6. Okay? Two different ways of dealing with that. Actually, there's more than one way to deal with it. In this question, we have 5x to the 0, y to the minus 2, z all to the minus 3. So, first of all, what do we know about x to the 0? That is a 1. So let's just deal with that first. So we have 5, and that's times 1. We have y to the minus 2 and z. Okay? So this becomes 5 y to the minus 2 z. Oh yes, all raised to the power of minus 3, all raised to the power of minus 3. Now, again, just as we did, I think, in the last question, we can do with this more than one way. I think what I'm going to do is just put everything into the denominator and change this to a positive 3 exponent. So we have 1 over 5 y to the minus 2 z, and that's a power of 3. This becomes 1 over 5 cubed, which is 125, I'm pretty sure. (125), and we have y to the minus 6 z cubed. So we end up, our y to the minus 6 goes up into the numerator, so we end up with y to the 6 over 125 z cubed. Next question. Minus 5 m to the minus 1 ng to the minus 2 over mb cubed. Now, we have a positive 2 on the outside, so the easiest thing to do is deal with our negatives that are inside the bracket. Minus 5 stays as it is. The n stays where it is. And that's all that happens in the numerator. M in the denominator is fine. b cubed in the denominator is fine. This m in the numerator goes into the denominator with a positive 1 exponent. This g goes into the denominator with a positive 2 exponent, and the entire thing is raised to the power of 2. We have two m's in the denominator here, so we can put those together. We end up with minus 5n over m squared b cubed g squared all squared. So this gives us, on the numerator, we have minus 5 squared is 25, n squared. M squared squared is m to the 4th. B cubed squared is b to the 6th. G squared squared is g to the 4th. And there you go. There's the answer. The only thing actually wrong with this is it's normally written alphabetically, so the m to the 4th should actually be following all these letters here. And last question. Again, we have all these minuses. So, I think the thing to do might be to flip everything right now. So I'm just going to put everything in the denominator in the numerator and everything in the numerator down into the denominator, and that will change this minus 2 to a positive 2. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So that means we have a, b to the minus 3. And don't forget, all that happens is this goes up, this goes down, doesn't change this minus 3 to a positive 3. All it does is we move things up and down, and it changes this to a positive 2. Minus 7 a r cubed g to the minus 2. And now we have a positive 2. Now, of course, you might not have used this approach. That doesn't mean you did it wrong. You just might have taken a different approach to this question, all right? So now what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to deal with these two a's. I could have dealt with those before. We have a in the top and a in the bottom, so they can just go. They cancel one another out. So let's just rewrite that. So we have b to the minus 3 over minus 7 r cubed g to the minus 2. Now we know that the b to the minus 3 can go into the denominator. Oh wait, squared. This can go into the denominator, and the g to the minus 2 can go into the numerator. So I'm going to write it that way. We have g to the 2 in the numerator. We have minus 7r cubed b cubed now in the denominator. So I moved g to the minus 2 up. So it became a positive 2 exponent, and I moved b to the minus 3 down, so we ended up with a positive 3 exponent. This entire thing is raised to the power of 2. So now we're just going to square everything. G squared squared is g to the 4th. Minus 7 squared is a positive 49. R cubed squared is r to the 6th. B cubed squared is b to the 6th. And that's that answer. Okay? All right, so I hope that was helpful. Have a good day. If you want any further assistance, call the Learning Assistance Center at 632-2251.